Okay, so.
Action!
Action, just look at me. So
You're the movie gal.
yeah, so here, take it. So here's the question. Tell me how we met. How did we meet?
We met at Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, California, following a talk that your wife did, short talk.
Oh, really?
And I don't even remember what the topic was that she was talking about, but part of it was that she had mentioned that the two of you were married before you went through your transgender transformation. And that you were still married and you had a very happy family and everybody was getting along just fine. And I was very inquisitive and fascinated by her story that she told. And so I signed up to do your 1-hour workshop where you focused on visioning and creating a vision and a focus for your life.
Now, 1 hour, is 1 hour a good amount of time for a seminar?
It wasn't a seminar, it was a workshop, an introductory workshop. So
Okay.
that was enough time to get a taste. Yeah, of what I eventually did get from working with you one-on-one.
Okay. And do you remember anything about the visioning? Anything strike you as remembering? Did you remember anything that you did?
Well, I filled out a form. You know,
Okay.
we were all given, the people who showed up to the 1-hour introductory workshop, we were given a form that asked specific questions that made us think a little bit, you know, in terms of, you know, if we already had a vision, maybe we wanted to revision it or, you know, take another look at it. And for myself, I had created a life plan about 5 years ago. So it was a point in my life where I was ready to revisit that and possibly make some adjustments to it. So it helped me to take a look at that plan again and start to, you know, see if there was something I wanted to change.
Now, you and I had kind of an introductory coffee where we were talking about your business, and you had a desire to do something with your business. Tell me a little bit about where you were when that happened and where we went from there.
So I'd moved to the desert. I've been in the desert for about a year, and I'm from Seattle, and I had many coaches and advisors in the Seattle area, but I didn't really have anybody that I was working with intimately for a business coach in this area. And so I felt like I needed some focus and direction, and but I wanted it to have heart. I really felt, because I tried many different business models and I haven't quite found the right one, the right fit.
Yeah.
I have beautiful products that are well received, but in terms of the business model and how I get the product to the customer, I just hadn't quite found the right match for my life. And so I thought possibly, you know, I could get some coaching in that area to see. And you mentioned, I think one of the things you mentioned was finding your compass, or looking at your you have an inner compass that will direct you, and I'd never heard that term before. So that was a new one for me.
Now, as we started working together, you felt some connection?
So when we started working one-on-one, you started me off with a particular assignment, which was to write about the most joyful experiences in my life from 0 to 15, or from 1 to 15, and then 15 to 30, and from 30 to now. And so I was to just kind of, remember those, and then write about what they were. And so that was the first assignment.
Now, what was the impact of doing that?
Well, that was amazing because, I am a practitioner, and so I am trained to know that what you put your attention on does increase. But even us practitioners, need a jump start every now and then. And so obviously my joy began to increase because I was writing about the joyful experiences of my life from a young age, and which I had many. And so that was the first step for me in terms of really recognizing the value of what you were bringing to my experience, is that the reminder for me is to what you put your attention on does increase.
Yeah. Now tell me, you are a practitioner. I'm a coach, but I have coaches. You're a practitioner, and talk to me about the value of even somebody who is trained in this to have somebody outside of them to talk to.
Well, I think it's extremely valuable. I oftentimes recognize there's something going on because I know what I'm looking at is a reflection upon what is happening inside of me. But I need more than that. I need more than the visual. I need understanding about what is going on and how do I shift it, because just seeing it sometimes isn't enough. I have to have some understanding of where I'm at. And so that's that compass that you were coaching me on. Yeah.
Follow the compass.
Follow the compass. Yeah.
Now, talk to me about the difference. You've had seminars, you've had workshops, you've had you've worked in groups, and you've worked one-on-one. What is the value of a one-on-one coach?
For me, it's the listening, so I can tell when I've been listened to. And there can also be silence. There can be times when nothing is being said and there's really something going on. So then things get revealed. And I don't know if you can really get that type of experience in a group setting. For me, there was an intimacy in terms of allowing some of those more vulnerable parts to come to the surface and be revealed.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to meet somebody on the street and they asked, "Have you ever worked with Laura?" what would you say? What are what are my redeeming qualities?
I think I would say that that she has a very valuable perspective, and her background in all that she's been and done and what she's doing now brings a lot of value and understanding where somebody can shift their perspective and see things in a different way and get some understanding from that. And I got that, and so to me it's really a valuable piece to be able to shift my perception.
Okay, and what's your future look like? Is it good?
What's my future look like?
Do you see
Well,
a
that's
good future?
absolutely. So one of my most recent experiences, which I think has come out of some of the work that we did together, because one of our conversations was, does the world really need more jewelry? And it's like, well, sure. If you were somebody who loves jewelry, but some people have drawers of it, so it's like, well, it's got to be really special, right?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what that was or what that was going to be, but I was open to, something coming forward. And so I just kind of took that inquiry into meditation whenever I could. And what came forward for me is that, and actually it didn't come from just wanting to create something new. It came from a deeper place, and where I was looking for a kind of a healing ritual for myself. And so what came up is that I'm going to create, I guess you would call it a memorial piece about the relationship between my father and I, who recently made his transition. And it was those last moments we spent together. So my practitioner during that time recommended that I possibly take my feelings and put them into my work, which is artwork. So I do prayer in the form of art. And so I created an art piece around those last moments that I spent with my dad. And I called it Expressions of Grace. And so I'm going to be making a memorial for my dad, about my dad, into a jewelry design, which will be a custom piece for myself. There'll be only one, so that'll be new for me. I usually only do production work, where you can make 1,000, but no, this one there'll be one and only, so it's a custom piece. And I'm already pretty close to choosing the stones, this is the piece right here, the art piece.
So describe what you have.
Yeah, well, it's an intuitive piece. In art history, they would call it automatic drawing. So I'm in the presence, which is the presence of grace, the presence of God. And this memorial is about my father's transition and my part in it, my being with him during that process. And so what I see in the art, those are the feelings about it I just told you about, but what I see in the piece is I see there's obviously a heart, and there's probably more than one. I know there's two, there might be more. And then oftentimes in studying death and near-death experiences, we know that sometimes people go through a tunnel, and a lot of times they see a really bright white light. So I see a tunnel in this piece. So this is the tunnel, and the bright light is the yellow, which will be either yellow diamond or a yellow sapphire, and probably an oval shape. And then the blue, the dark blue, will be a sapphire, a blue sapphire. And so what I see is that the spirit is transforming into another dimension and going through the tunnel in this piece. Still engulfed in the heart. So there's the heart. The heart is actually where spirit resides, in the heart. And so all this light is within the heart as well. And then the pink is obviously love. It's kind of a dark, sort of a rose pink. And then the red can symbolize the blood, which is, the oxygen in the blood is also where spirit resides. So we do have that. And I'm not sure what these two are. Sometimes it kind of reminds me of an arrow. We also talk in the Buddhist philosophy about the arrow, it's kind of like the second wound. So it could be that's a representation of that. So I'm looking forward to
Okay,
doing
now,
this.
Typically, your art starts as a painting or a graphic,
Right.
and then it turns into a piece of jewelry like the one that's around your neck. Talk to me about the process of taking that and making
So
it.
it's actually quite involved. Oftentimes I would start in meditation, but most of my life is a meditation these days, and so I'm with you and I'm in the presence pretty much all the time, and so I can draw usually at the spur of the moment, but sometimes I'll just do a 20-30 minute meditation, and then I'll either hear a word or a phrase, or if I have an intention to begin with, I can also do it that way. And then I begin to draw. And typically I have all the supply of art already there in terms of pens. I use ink pens and graphic markers for my drawings. And then I'll just start to draw, and it's very automatic. It just, flows. And it not always gets done on the first sitting. It depends on the size of the piece. And then oftentimes I hear a word first, but then sometimes the title doesn't come till later, till I understand more about the experience. So from there to get to jewelry, then I pull the jewelry design out of the drawing by tracing the parts that I feel are going to be into the jewelry design. And that maybe takes 3 or 4 different drawings until I come up with what I really feel wants to come forward in the design. And sometimes when I get to the line drawing, I start learning actually a lot more about the piece. It will start to speak to me in terms of what it's wanting, what the shapes are communicating to me. And so from the line drawing, then we go to what's called a CAD/CAM design. And so I'm not a CAD/CAM designer. That's a computerized 3D program. And so then I work with my CAD/CAM designer. We collaborate together. She takes my line drawing, which gives her a good idea of where to go to make it into 3D. Then we have the CAD/CAM drawing, and from there it goes to the factory. And sometimes the CAD/CAM designer is at the factory as well. Goes to the factory, and they create a wax that comes right out of the CAD/CAM machine. That's a 3D wax, and then that wax becomes a mold, and the mold becomes jewelry. And each piece actually has the title of the piece on the back, and sometimes it'll have my name on the back if it's a limited piece. And we can engrave special things on the back too. I mean, this one will have my dad's name on the back as well. Yeah.
And you also put stones. The one.
Yes, in the factory,
Stone.
the manufacturer will make it exactly like the CAD/CAM drawing. We'll have the stones and everything in it. In fact, she'll measure and see exactly what size the stone should be. All that's done in the CAD/CAM. So when we get that drawing back, we know exactly what size stones to order and everything, and how we're going to set the stone. We usually pave set. There's a couple other settings, that I use as well in my pieces. And I have an affinity for sapphires, and so I think it might be a yellow and a blue sapphire in this one. I have a pink sapphire on now, and I love it. It's one of my favorites.
In the end,
Yeah.
this whole process from taking your emotions, putting it into a graphic, taking the graphic, turning it into a mold, the mold turns into jewelry, you end up with a very special, unique piece.
And this particular experience is even more special, which I haven't done the custom. So I'm my first customer. I'm the first custom customer, right? So this piece would probably retail around $19,000. And so it could be a good business model. I mean, this is a high-end piece. They don't have to be that much. but a custom piece will probably start right around 5,000.
Now, would you or could you work with somebody who wanted to craft their own special piece that they could tell you the event or the emotions and work with you when you do a custom make?
We can give it a shot. I can tell you that I work in a specific way. I don't draw dogs and cats, you know, like if somebody told me, oh, I want one of those. I don't usually do that. My work is done in consciousness, and so if you wanted, I mean, give an example, you know.
Well, so for me, you know, an example would be somebody has had a family member pass, or their dog, or you know, with some emotional experience that they could relate to you that would turn into a drawing that would
absolutely
turn into a jewelry piece. I mean, I think anybody who would see this video that could see your drawing and how you went from something like that to something that's around your neck would realize that this is not about, you know, recreating your pet's face.
Right.
It's
about the essence,
Right.
the spirit of that individual and or the relationship that you've had with them.
Right.
Yeah. And that essence of that relationship. Yeah.
Well, that's helpful in a lot of ways, because I think that also cinches up why your jewelry is so special. Is because this isn't just you designing cool looking jewelry. This is you experiencing an emotion and a feeling and an essence of a thing, that in this case your father, and turning that experience into a graphic which turns into a piece of jewelry. Is a long, beautiful process, and so what you end up with is not just a thing, but a very special.
And what's interesting, because it's prayer, because it's my skill and using prayer, I get to do it all through the whole process. So I'm in prayer from the moment I put the ink on the paper till it becomes jewelry. So that's a good body of time. And I'm blessed with that experience of being able to do that, being in that space. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say? I think that's good.
I think that's good.
Hey,
Well,
honestly, out of that, now I will tell you that.
What do you